welcome to Viada's Tiny House Village. We be jamming, we be jamming. This is so much fun. My co-host will be on in just a few to give us some more power tools to build. And you want to make sure you subscribe and like. I did 3 or 4 videos today out at the Orlando Tiny House Village. I met some awesome people today, and I'm going to give a tour of the village in Orlando, Florida, which is just beautiful. And then I met some other people who are going to be my guests. So be sure and subscribe so you'll get notice when those videos hit. But let's enjoy this retro soul while we wait for my guests, and then I'll come on and give you some more information about Tiny House. And that, my brothers and sisters, is our intro music. And my media person is working on some fabulous pictures to float on our screen with that music that will inspire you to do tiny house living. So, welcome to Viada's Tiny House Village. I'm in my own small tiny house, 320 square feet. I renovated this shed at the beginning of the year, started, and I love this place because it's very peaceful. I don't have air conditioning, but as you can tell, I see there's a fan going that keeps me cool. And if I need to cool off, my son's house is right out that door across the yard, and I can cool off in his freezer because it's cold over there. So I'm just grateful. I walk in so much gratitude because for 5 years I lived in a tiny house out on a semi-rural area with cows and horses on both sides. It was a very, very quiet, peaceful experience. And with all the turmoil and confusion about guns, I don't have the guns that other people have because living on 11 acres of land with our RVs and trailers on the land, and a landowner who had a rifle in his house protecting everybody. It was a very peaceful place because everybody knew he was the owner of the gun range down the hill from us, and people came through there all the time practicing on there. In fact, I would leave the property when people came to practice their rifle and gun shooting and all that. And this was only 11 acres. So it was a tiny house village of sorts. But the men and women who came to practice shooting guns were so friendly, so peaceful. And I never had not one thought of fear of any kind. And these type of people are interested in carrying guns for protection. They're not the mental type, but you do have those mental type. So as far as having these rifles that are really meant for the military, I don't know why we even have those out in the public. But I think our job is to just live in with self-responsibility, living peaceful with our neighbors. And that's what experience I had in my first tiny house community. So I'm just glad. So today you're gonna see I'm going to upload some videos I took today of a beautiful tiny house community in Orlando, Florida. In fact, it's the only community in Orlando, Florida. Why? Because of the politics, basically. I had a friend who wanted to buy my tiny house last year, and he wanted to put it in Orlando, Florida. Too much red tape, too much red tape. It's just not that easy to drive it into an empty lot. They got plenty of empty lots, which this person was aware of, that could have just had housed a tiny house. But for political reasons, for land money reasons, it just couldn't happen because there are all these regulations and restrictions. And so that's why we told you in our first video that the best thing to do is go outside of the major urban areas and find communities where the restrictions are not so stiff and restrictive. So you can have the freedom to live in this small space without police or political persons showing up to tell you you're breaking the law. You don't want to be breaking the law. So that's why, and watch our first video to find out exactly what you need to be aware of before you buy your tiny house or before you build your tiny house. And that's what LA is going to come on today. Okay, he's saying he didn't get the link, I guess. I don't know what's going on with him. Not sure. So, before you buy a tiny house. So again, we're looking at. Okay, let me just send my. I have to send my host the link again. Copied clipboard email. Let's see if we can get him in here to show his power tools to us. Solar Village link. I'm gonna send him a link. Okay, we're gonna send him a link, see if he can join us. These are all the technical things we go through. 315 link. 235, 315. Okay, so join StreamYard. Okay, my co-host is here now. We're going to bring him on today, and he's in his red. Hello, LA. How are you today?
I'm fine. I'm sorry I'm late. The Sandman hit me, knocked me
Okay,
out.
so I was telling our viewers about my visit to Lake Tiny House Village in Orlando and all the things I learned, and there's just a lot to talk about in future videos as well. But today, I told you're going to show us some power tools and show us how these are used, why we need them, and all that. So, okay, you're frozen. There you go. All right. So LA is going to show us some power tools, some tools that we need to build. And these are basic tools, basic instructions for you. Could you say two people could use these tools and build their own house, or person maybe? How many people?
Well, there are a lot of people who go solo and have built their own cabin or tiny house. I haven't done it by myself. I've always been with other people, but there are plenty of people that you can see in other YouTube videos that have built their own cabin or tiny house. Some of them it might take 2 weeks, some longer, but 2 weeks, depending on the size of it and what you want and whatnot. So today we got three tools to show you. All right. And the first one is in here. It is it's a drill, and an electric drill that you would have to plug in into a power source. Here it is. It looks like a gun, and the cord that goes onto. You need to plug it into a power source. If you're in a remote area, you would need a generator, but this is a drill, and you would use this to. Matter of fact, when it comes to carpentry, that's what we're talking about when we're talking about building a shed, a cabin, or a tiny house. It's carpentry. And in carpentry, you have two primary functions: to cut and to fasten. Now, in fasten, that means put it all together. So you can either nail something together, or you can screw it together, or a combination of nails and screws. But this is an electric screw gun. So we have a cordless one, but we're not going to show that one today. But this is the electric one I use.
Add something to that because in my journey in renovating this place, that thing can also take screws out quickly if you make a mistake, right?
Excellent, excellent point. Because people do make mistakes. It's easier, in my opinion, it's easier to use screws because when you make a mistake, and we all do, particularly if you're, a beginner or a novice or something like that, it's easy to unscrew, whereas with a nail is harder to do. So very good observation.
That's one of my favorite tools because when when I first got in here, it was all wood. There were a lot of nails that had to come out before I could paint or do other things. And that tool right there was what I used to not only move a lot of old nails that were hanging around here. So that's a great tool. Everybody, you really need to have that.
Yeah. Matter of fact, I would say, well, you know what? Work with what you have, but as soon as you can, get an electric screw. And I would say that type we had to plug in. Tomorrow I'll show you a cordless screw gun, but that you don't need to plug it in. It runs off of batteries that you have to charge. Next tool is a circular saw. Some might call it a skill saw, but a circular saw. Also runs by electric, at least this one does. And you use it to, you can use one of those old saws, hand saws, which you got to put some muscle into, okay? Or you can take something like this circular saw. Once again, you need a power source to plug it in, and you can cut your boards with that, depending on the type of cut that you need. Then the last one, I'll show it this way. Okay. This is a miter saw. All right, a miter saw, and you can make cuts with that as well. Now I'm not a carpenter per se. I can't name cuts. I just know what I have to do, and I go along with it. So for me, it's like I'm developing a new life skill. But these power tools, can do it. Now, people have um, don't wait like I did. Work with what you got. You know, if I've known some people, there's one guy that I watch on YouTube that he started off, he had to borrow tools. And the first two tools that he borrowed were a I think he had a miter saw, not a miter saw. He had a the saw that I showed you yesterday, a reciprocal saw, also called a sawzall. And some they had just two power tools that they had to borrow. So he borrowed those and he got some materials and he built his first tiny house. Now he has a business where he does over $2 million a year building tiny houses, but he started with just two tools. So you know, work with what you got, and it works itself out after that. I don't have my collection complete yet. I need a saw, what do you call it, a nail gun. But 70%, I can build 70% of what I want to build with what I just showed you today. So you know, use what you got. Tomorrow,
Okay,
I'll
so
bring on some more.
what do those tools actually help you do in terms of connecting or starting the job? So the first step, what is the first step after you get all your tools? Step to go to after the tools are bought, and what is the next material you would buy?
Well,
Wood? Would you buy wood?
the first step, if you want to go with steps, the first step is to get a set of plans. And hold it, I got this glare behind me up here. The first step is to get you a set of plans. So you can go online and type in tiny house plans, free shed plans, free cabin plans. And there's a bunch of plans that you can get online. And then it will tell you what tools that you will need, what type of wood you're going to need to get, how much of, you know, how many sheets of drywall or how many sheets of plywood, how many 2x4s, how many 2x6s, you know, how many screws. So the very first step is to get the plans. From the plans, then you can determine what specific tools that you're going to need. That I would say that's the first step, and that step takes care of your first few steps.
Okay, sounds good. So everybody make your list and your wish list, your shopping list. We're here to help you put this together, build or rent. And I spent a good 30 minutes in Orlando's tiny house village, and I'm going to share some videos I made today that will help you develop even in your mind what you want to see your house look like. There were so many houses there that have variety of styles and sizes. So LA's giving us some important information about the tool if we want to build. There, as we said in the previous shows, you can build or buy or rent. So we want to give you all the options. You don't have any excuses to go smaller and tiny. So LA, you have any final words?
Yeah, well, the reason why I suggest that people learn how to build is because if you learn how to build, you don't have to deal with getting a mortgage. You can build. You'll have a skill that you can take anywhere in the world. You got 195 official countries recognized by the United Nations. It's probably over 200 when you got de facto countries. So you can go anywhere in the world and not know the language and build a place for yourself debt free. Typically, because you're eliminating the labor part of it. All right. Even when you get together with friends, you know, because many people in the Amish community, the Mennonite community, they build using social capital. So there's no 30-year mortgage or anything like that. No, they totally cut out the banks. All right. So for me, that's motivation enough. If you want to live mortgage free and rent free learn how to build your own place. It doesn't have to be a mansion. Learn the fundamentals, and there'll be people to help you. And I could, you know what? Right behind potty training, and I'm being serious about this. Right behind potty training, people should learn how to build their own place. Now, it might not be a cabin or a shed or a tiny house to start with, but you know, like with your grandchildren, a dollhouse or a doghouse or even a birdhouse. Start off with something small and then work your way up.
That's so true. Thank you, LA, because I met a young man today who's paying a mortgage on a tiny house. And so you can pay as little, you're going to pay as much as about $800 if you have a mortgage on a tiny house. To park it somewhere, to rent the space, and having no mortgage. And I even met a man who's paying $1,400 to rent a tiny house in this space. Like, whoa, okay. So anyway, there's such a wide range of expenses in housing, and what to do with your money and pay less. Okay. All right. So we'll be back tomorrow, and I'll be uploading some videos later on the beautiful people I met, or beautiful person I met at this tiny house village. So until next time, let's rock out of here with some retro soul. Thank you, LA. We'll see you later. Everybody have a beautiful day.